Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And on tonight's episode, we are going to continue where we left off. And I am still playing my. Sorry guys, I'm still playing my Cleric. And he is now level 23. He's about half a bubble, a little bit more than half a bubble into the level. And at level 24, I get my new spells. I get a new heal spell, and I get a new. Actually, a few new spells. Thank you for the awesome group. Okay, so we have somebody leaving. We actually have two people leaving, which is going to take us down to three people. But we have two more people about to join us, a shaman and a monk, which is going to be a really nice duo. Obviously, a monk can do the damage, a shaman can do damage and heal and buff. So that's a great pair to get by themselves. Even if you wanted to build a group around that, that's a really, really good start. But because we're getting them to the group we already have, so much the better. It's actually really amazing. So, are they going to invite him? Yep, they sure are. 20 Necro looking for groups. So we could actually get the 20 Necro maybe, depending on what the highest level in their group is at the moment. Maybe a little too high, to be honest. But I think this group is going to end up being really good. We're going to have a lot of DPS. We're going to have an extra little few buffs because of the shaman. And we'll have some extra healing. Because at times I was having not a difficulty keeping up with it, but my power was going down. And in really good groups, what you'll notice is the Cleric is always full power, and he's only having to heal every so often. Whoops, I'm also leaving soon. So get that other 20 Necro, then I guess that Life Lord would be an option. Yeah, he was actually pretty easy. That's funny. Um, it's nice to know when the tank has a sense of humor because they know that they're not quite as good as the one that they're replacing. Uh, you will have like if you have a tank, like a pure tank, like I'm talking about a warrior in your group, and then you switched over to a paladin or a shadow knight, you're gonna notice a pretty big difference. You're gonna notice that not exactly as uber as they are because they take the hits so much better than any of the other tanks out there. They don't deal out as much damage. A warrior really won't do as much damage as a shadow knight. Maybe as much as a paladin, depending on how they're playing their class, because paladins don't really get a whole lot of damage spells, to be honest, other than versus undead. Whereas a shadow knight, all his spells hit everybody, undead and living alike, so it doesn't really matter. Um, and they do get a fair decent amount of buffs. Now, because they don't get the dual wield, the warrior, depending on his armor, if he has, a flowing black silk sash, which adds haste, and some really good dual wield 2 weapons that have procs of their own, then yeah, he could probably outdamage, the Shadow Knight. But then again, if the Shadow Knight has equally a good haste item, and then a good weapon that procs as well, plus the spells that he has, and he's very efficient with how he uses things, then yeah, he may be able to outdamage for the most part. Paladins really don't come into play unless they have a really, really, really good weapon. Please drop a caster for a second and invite me. Yes, please. Oh, maybe that guy's down below giving off, clarity or KEI or something along those lines. You'll see high-level people kind of do that from time to time, is they'll be running through a certain area, and it's really nice to see it over here because this is a dead-end zone. Like, there's no reason to come over here to the zone that's right next to Unrest, other than to go to Unrest, or if you're doing something weird in the zone, trying to kill something for a quest or something. And I call that weird because those of you who may have played when EverQuest first came out, you'll notice, or you'll have experienced it yourself, which is people don't really do quests that often. I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on over here while I'm trying to finish my train of thought. People didn't really do quests that often because they just weren't aware of them. It's not like in other games where you walk into a town and everybody has a little feather above their head or something like that. That's not the case. It doesn't really work that well. Over here, I think that's a druid, actually. Oh my god, Pack Lore class is amazing. Is amazing. Drop so. Okay. Shared wolf form, 36 minutes, nice. So what does shared wolf form do? Well, it does a couple of things. Granted, it turns you into the illusion of a wolf, but it also gives you a higher attack rate. You actually attack faster, I think, and do a little bit more damage than you otherwise normally would. And of course, it gives you Spirit of the Wolf. You get to run fast. You get to run incredibly fast. Who's the tank? Me, the paladin. Yes, I have Red Rocket for you. What is? I don't even want to know what that means. Have you been pulling hags? Yeah, I think we have been pulling hags. There's one right here. Strength buff. Nice. So this is gonna be amazing. This is gonna be so much easier to do the area that we're in for a short little while. Of course, the problem with drop to group level. I don't remember how to reconcile. Yeah, the problem with actually he doesn't remember how to reinvite. Oh, he doesn't remember who to reinvite. There you go. 20 Necros, still looking for a group. That sucks. Necros are one of those classes that, you know, people want. Holy crap, did I just take damage from something? That must have been an area effect speller. He must be standing. There we go. So I got hit, stood up, and then sat back down to heal because I forgot that I was standing up already. When you get hit, you automatically stand up. It's cool to see all these little wolfies just sitting there biting on the little ankles of this hag. And I love the spell effects in this game. Come on, heal up already. She's taking a lot of damage. She was not kidding. She's not going to take nearly as good. I think she was wearing chainmail, to be honest. And that's why she said that. Because she's very... Man, I just healed her and her life still went down. It's still going down. 52, 60, 68. And that's because we have a shaman over there probably tossing a couple heals on her as well. It's probably thinking I'm not doing my job by healing, but couldn't be further from the truth. It's just that she was taking hits so hard. You know, it's just one of those things that hags are so much higher level than the lower level creatures that... Or not the lower level, that makes a whole lot of sense. Actually, it does, but in a stupid way. They're so much higher level than the rest of the creatures we're fighting over here that when you do fight one, you're going to need to be ready for it. Like, it's going to drain a lot of your power to take on one of those things unless you have the right group and the right makeup. Did he just die? Oh, no, he fatigued death. It's so confusing when you have... I like being a dog, yeah. It's so confusing when you can't see that they're a monk. Because they don't... when they keel over like that, you're just assuming that they're dead. Because, you know, you're so used to the fact that only druids are wolves. Because at a lower level, the druids do get this wolf form, but only for themselves. And it's not until a much later level that they get it for the whole group. And then it's not really used all that often, to be honest. Some people don't like to be a wolf because it will lower your perspective down to the ground a whole lot more. It will make doing some tasks a whole lot more difficult, like jumping. So as a tank, I will actually sometimes click that off and then ask the druid to cast just a regular, you know, Spirit of the Wolf on me, so that I can make it over jumps, you know, that much easier. Because otherwise, you just constantly fall down. Like, you'd have to get right on the edge of the jump, time it perfectly, and then you'd land perfectly on the edge of the other side. Whereas if you're, you know, your dark elf form, you can jump, and you can jump, you know, a good 1.5 feet before the ledge and land a good 1.5 feet after the ledge. And it's just one of those things that if you have to go to certain areas and get your pulls, you may decide against it. You may decide not to use that wolf form, and it kind of sucks because you're going to lose out on that extra damage, and you're going to lose out on that extra speed, because I think it is a little bit faster than regular Spirit of the Wolf. I may be mistaken on that. Maybe the exact same speed, to be honest, but I think I remember it being a little faster. At least it felt that way. I think maybe it felt that way because you're at such low elevation to the ground. Anybody who's ever used, you know, something that put them real low to the ground, like a little cart or something like that, when you're going, you know, not even that fast, you're going like 30 miles an hour, it seems like you're going like 60 or 70 in your perspective because you're so low. You see that road just, you know, whisking by you so quickly. And then when you're higher up in like an SUV or even like an 18-wheeler and you're going down the road at like 70 or 80, it just seems like you're going like, you know, 20 or 25 miles an hour because things aren't going as fast by you because you're higher up, and it's just perspective maybe. But I think you do go faster. I mean, I'll have to look into that. Root took away dog form. Oh yeah, because she lost her Spirit of the Wolf. Well, we do have a shaman here, so He can give it back to her. Not that she really needs it. She is the tank, but she's not the puller, and so yeah, not really that important to have her have Spirit of the Wolf necessarily. I mean, yeah, it is, and she should always have it, but you could get away with not giving it to her if you were really, really low. It would have to be a really good reason not to give it to her, but you know, it's just the same thing with Clarity. I mean, not everybody needs it. Like the Shadow Knight probably doesn't need Clarity 80% of the time if he has broken the room and he's, you know, very efficient with his power and he knows what he's doing and things of that sort. But it's nice for them to have it for those situations where things get out of hand, or if he does have it, he can, you know, kill a little bit faster because of it. You know, he's able to use his dots more often during a fight, where normally as a Shadow Knight what I would find myself doing would be to pull with a spell like Dooming Darkness or something that would slow the mob down dramatically with their run speed, which would allow me more time to get back to my room, not getting beat on the whole time. And if there was another mob that came with that one that I was not expecting, that may spawn literally like right at the last second of me pulling, which actually happens quite a bit in rooms when you're breaking them up and you're killing so quickly. What you'll find is you'll stop at the door, you'll see that guy had spawned, he may have been there for 30 seconds, you may have killed the other mob, you know, 45 seconds after he spawned originally, and so that other guy's about to spawn in about 15 seconds. And while you're standing there looking around to make sure nothing else is there, you go ahead and cast your spell. And the moment your spell takes, or cast, the other guy spawns and sees it. Or sees the mob running by and goes ahead and just jumps on you as well. So at least the first mob is slowed. Of course, the downside to doing that, which, again, if I had an enchanter in my group, I wouldn't pull that way. But if you do have an enchanter and you pull that way, then when you pull, the second mob is going to come into the group slower, so everybody's going to jump on the initial mob right off the bat because they assume that's the one you just pulled. They don't know another one's coming, or if they do, they don't know why it hasn't gotten there yet, and they're not going to waste time. They're going to jump on the first thing, especially if only one comes through the doorway. And they're going to, you know, start attacking it. They're going to dot it. They're going to do all this stuff to it. And then when the second mob comes in, the enchanter's not able to mez it because it has a dot on him, which is your Dooming Darkness. And so not necessarily the greatest idea to do it that way if you have an enchanter. But if you don't have one, then that is a good method to do, because that's going to give you an extra, you know, 5 or 6 seconds initially to attack that first mob, while that second one is still walking to your group. And therefore you're not taking hits from 2 mobs for a shorter distance or shorter span of time, which may be really all you need, because again, if you got an extra mob that you weren't planning on and it wasn't slowed, then it was most likely beating you up the whole way back, or very, very close to beating you up the whole way back. And so you probably took a couple hits initially just from the mob coming that you weren't expecting, and then maybe took a few hits along the way, depending on how fast you are and over encumbered and how well you know the way, and can go around you know, corners without losing too much of your lead. You get back to the group, you may be like at 60% of life. Well, the Cleric has to heal you. And if there's 2 mobs there, then, you know, the Cleric or the healer is going to get a little bit of aggro because of that. But if you only have 1 mob that comes in the door and you're able to sit there and taunt it and everybody's able to sit there and attack it, and he heals you and the second mob's coming down the hall, well, yeah, he's getting aggro from that second mob, but it doesn't hit him initially, which gives people a chance, especially if you tell people it's coming down the hall, gives people a chance to wait for it to come through the door. And since it's moving so slow, a lot of people will actually be able to leave the doorway, see it coming down the hall, know that it's not coming at them, it's coming after you, and they can root it either outside the hall or outside the door in the hall, which is not usually a good idea because you have roamers usually moving around outside, you know, group entrances of places people like to sit. Or you can wait and time it right so that the moment it enters the doorway, that's where you root it before it even gets the first hit. And that's everybody really working together, everybody communicating with one another and letting people know what's going on. You know, of course you can play this entire game without talking. It would suck, and you wouldn't get really much done, but you could probably do it. You know, but if you communicate with your group and you let them know what's going on and they let you know what's going on, a lot of the time you can play off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you'll be able to do things that you didn't even realize you were going to do. Like most of the time, like I said, as a Cleric, you just sit there and you heal. But in situations like that, you actually have the chance to do more if you want it. You can go out there and root the target. You can go out there and stun the target with your stun spells. You can do a lot of different things in a lot of different situations if you want that extra challenge, that extra responsibility. Like over here, a lot of these creatures cast disease. The tank, most of the time, will just accept the fact that they're going to have disease on them 24/7 because it's cast so often. And what you'll find is clerics will, cure their disease, and then, literally the next fight is cast on them again. You cure it again. The next fight is cast on them again, and you'd have to cure it again. Not very efficient use of your power, which is why most tanks will just accept it. Off tanks usually won't. They'll usually be like, oh, can you cure this? Because they don't realize that they're going to get it every fight if they get hit, because most of the time they don't take a hit. So in that situation, probably worth it for you to cure it. But if you want that extra challenge, you can just cure the tank every time he gets it. If you're paying attention to the text down below, you can see so-and-so is diseased, blah, 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 or whatever, and you can cure that. And, that's definitely going to make an impact on the tank. It will allow their health to regenerate a little bit in between fights, and they'll notice that one of their buffs keeps disappearing, and they'll look up there and be like, oh, that's not a buff, that's the stupid disease that I keep getting, and the cleric keeps healing me, or curing me. And they will either do one of two things. They'd be like, save your power, don't keep curing me because I don't really need it. Or they will tell you, thanks for doing that, because nobody else really ever cared or took the time or the effort to do it for them. And that was a pretty big deal for them. So, what has he got? A bronze cloak. Pretty nice stuff actually dropping here. That's pretty sweet. I do need to get some more bronze for my Shadow Knight, but I just never loot as a cleric. As a cleric, I'm so used to just sitting and standing, sitting and standing, and not really moving around that often that I find, I actually don't loot probably near enough to actually be able to afford the stuff that I want to get. And that was one of the reasons I was really glad when I got to Seb at a level that I could actually go in there and group in, is that back in the day, they actually just gave the cleric all the gems that dropped for the cost of using symbols and just the fact that, again, clerics really don't loot all that often. And they know that because they don't want you to. If you're a cleric that's constantly moving around, people will be like, just sit still and meditate, please. We need your power. We need your power. You're constantly waiting on you to get power. And, you constantly moving around. In fact, sometimes people will be like, if you just sit still, we'll loot for you and just share the loot that way, through the coinage. But we'll also just give you items every once in a while. Whoa, what just happened there? I didn't even move the mouse or anything. It just changed views. That's kind of weird. But yeah, it was really nice when you could get the gems, and I think that was a little bit too much, to be honest, to get every single one of them, because I didn't even realize that after I had spent like a week, 2 weeks there of getting gems, for spinning symbols and stuff, and I actually had to go back to town because I ran out of paradots, and I needed to get more to be able to cast symbols. So I got a teleport to go back town, and when I went back, I was looking at how much the gems were selling for, and I'm like, holy crap, each one of these things is like 100 and something platinum, and I had stack after stack after stack after stack of these things. And some of the blue diamonds, I had like 4 or 5 stacks of blue diamonds, and anybody who knows anything about those knows those are worth a freaking fortune pretty much at any time in the game, especially now that Velius is coming out, because blue diamonds is used in quite a few things over in Velius. So yeah, it's I had a lot of money overnight, and it was pretty nice too, because before that happened, the max amount of money that I had at any given time with my cleric all the way up to max level was I think like 100 platinum at any given time, and that was a lot of money to me. And the only reason I had the 100 platinum was to save up for my next level spells. And so I was a very, very poor cleric. I wasn't one of these guys who would sit at the entrance and res people for cash. Not that I wouldn't do that, because I actually did that quite a bit when I was looking for groups. I would go to zones that I knew that people weren't always able to find reses, and I would just res everybody at the entrance. I wouldn't even ask. I would just use my little clicker and res everybody. Before that, I would ask, because it uses power, and it uses quite a bit of power to do that. But I would res everybody, and people would be like, they would just open the trade window assuming that I would be charging, and I would just click the little button to decline it, because I didn't want the cash. I wanted to help other people out, because I knew what that was like, and I knew how badly it sucked to die and not get a res. Man, I get this thing like all the time. It's like one piece that I don't need, that and the gloves. It's crazy how I keep getting the same stuff. I wouldn't mind getting a breastplate from my guy, though. That would be pretty nice. I'm sure I'll find it here eventually, but yeah, I always did that for free because my brother, he played a druid, and one of the things I've probably talked about before is every night when he was done fighting, if he had a bad day, and he didn't have them too often, to be honest. Most days I didn't have to go over and res any of his corpses because he didn't have any. But occasionally he would have a really off day, and he would get more, ads than he was hoping for, or somebody would train him by mistake or on purpose, and it would he would have like 5 or 6 corpses sitting there waiting. And before that happened, I remember going over and talking to him, and he'd be sitting there, railing on the fact that some idiot trained him, and he lost a level, and he wasn't able to find a res. And when he did find a res, it was all the money that he had saved up for like the last week to be able to even afford it. And he's not making any progress because it takes so long to level. And he was like always complaining about this and that when people would do some really, really horrible things. And I think that kind of kept him away from grouping too much, because he was really a soloist at heart. He enjoyed that aspect of doing things on his own, which is why I understand there's people out there who don't group because they just don't enjoy it, and that's perfectly fine if you don't want to. But you still are part of the community, and he still was part of the community, and he would still take people to different areas, and he didn't always charge. He always had an open door policy where if he teleported somebody and they wanted to give him money, he would accept it, whereas I would just decline it, because he realized as a druid he had to pay for reses 99% of the time, which is why I never charged, because I thought that was unfortunate. Yeah, I had plenty of people who would give me ports as wizards or druids, mainly druids. I very, very, very rarely got a wizard teleport anywhere, because there just was so few of them on the server that it was just rare to see one in general. But the druids constantly would give me free teleports, and they wouldn't just do it with my cleric. They would do it with my shadow knight. In fact, I think they did it more often with my shadow knight than they did with my cleric, simply because of the fact that my shadow knight, everybody realized, evil class, you got it pretty hard, and you're using a lot of money to get a lot of things that aren't really all that great for you. And then on top of that, there's only so many towns, I think 3 towns that you can go to sell to in the first place, and everybody hates your guts. You just don't earn very much money. You just really don't. And so they took it easy on you, I think, a lot of the time, and I was just getting really, really nice, druids that were, just donating their time to people, out of the kindness of their heart. But with my cleric, I always noticed that people, I guess, gave clerics a bad rap when charging, because so many of them did it, and they were so greedy about it most of the time. And anytime you wanted to teleport, they just assumed you were just loaded with cash, and is completely the exact opposite. In fact, I think my Shadow Knight earned more money than my cleric ever did. I was just so poor as a cleric, and those gems, more than what I probably should have been getting, were just a game changer for me, because finally, for once, I had a couple thousand platinum on my character, and I was able to upgrade a few pieces of armor that I really, really, really had been wanting for a long time. And it changed the game, because getting those, when you have like 90% of the armor that you really want, and is going to be like max level for you, stuff like that, and you're missing like the 3 or 4 pieces, when you get all 3 or 4 pieces at the same time, you all of a sudden notice that, holy crap, I got an extra 2 heal spells per mana pool. Like I can do an extra 2 complete heals before I'm completely out of power. It may not sound like a whole lot, but 2 complete heals extra from what you normally have is a huge deal. I cannot even describe to you how big of a deal that is. And it's an amazing feeling to know that you just got that Uber overnight. Because if you get the pieces one at a time, yeah, it's a huge deal, and you notice the increase, but not nearly as much as 4, exceptionally good pieces all at the same time will give you. And I got 0 platinum, 0 gold, 0 silver, and 0 copper as my split, which is just weird. You didn't get anything from that split. It's definitely unique. Okay, dudes, I'm gonna what? Oh, he gets a rogue coming. Ooh, check it out. Small ringmail gloves. Again, don't really need the gloves. I need pretty much any other piece but the gloves and the shoulder piece, but those are the ones I keep getting for some reason. Let's see, who are they going to invite? Again, that was really, really quick. Grab him as a replacement. I guess it's not so bad if you do that. If you know you're going to be leaving here pretty soon and you see somebody that can replace you, if I'm a cleric and I'm in a group and I see that, there's another guy there another cleric looking for a group, I can go ahead and say, invite that cleric into my spot, and I'll leave as soon as he gets here. That way, if it falls through, if he joins another group or if he dies along the way, I'm still here to heal everybody. I didn't just, leave the group and let them figure it out, because sometimes it doesn't work out. But yeah, that's acceptable too. Of course, it's all acceptable, but it's just people are going to remember the way you leave a group, just like the way you join a group. And if you immediately join a group and you just start looting everything that's on the ground, most groups won't care because most people are not really interested in the trash stuff that drops. But some people will look at it as, man, you're freaking greedy already, and if something drops, how greedy are you going to be when that happens? So it doesn't really leave a good taste in people's mouths, and they would prefer to have somebody else that isn't completely greedy in their group other than somebody that is. So again, it's like etiquette. If you want to be in a lot of groups, you should make a good impression on people. Same thing in real life. If you want to get a job, that first impression when you walk in the door, pretty much the manager or whoever's interviewing you has already made up their mind just off of your looks alone. Yeah, that's wrong. Yeah, it's probably greatly illegal for them to do that, but it's the way it is, and you just have to get used to it. Now they can make up their mind based on how you look, and then talk to you for a few minutes and completely and totally change their opinion on ever hiring you after talking to you because you're just not what they're looking for. The reverse is also true as well. They can, look at you and be like, that's probably not the guy we're looking for. And then you go in there and they're like, oh, these are the droids I'm looking for. But yeah, you just want to make a good impression on people. And the same way in this game, if you want to get more groups. And what you will find is, as you progress through the game, you will get tells from people that you don't even know. And they'll be like, hey, man, you want to come join us on this raid or something like that? And you'd be like, if you want to go on a raid, you'd be like, heck yeah, I want to go, but you don't want to seem too over-eager. Because if you're too over-eager, they may take that as a sign as, he's just happy to be there. He won't get any loot. Or if you're not as eager and they really, really, really need you, they'd be like, we'll throw you in the random for some really good loot. Or you'll have first dibs on it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just one of those things that you'll find that people will send you these random messages, and then later on you will find out that, oh, you're actually that other guy that I grouped with at level 35, that paladin, and now you're playing a wizard, and you're actually in one of the top tier raiding guilds, and I'm able to get some really, really good loot because pretty much nobody here needs any of the stuff that's dropping. They're just here for that one or two pieces that they have a chance at getting each and every time they clear the zone, and that's really their only purpose for being there. And I did that quite a bit at higher levels, got into groups like that. I guess he was just getting rid of that stuff. But yeah, it's amazing when you make friendships with people and then find out that not only did you know them on one character, but you actually knew them on 2 different characters or 3 different characters, and you didn't even know they were the same person. And then when you find out that they are, you're like, oh, no wonder I always got along with that guy so well. You just figured that you had grouped with them so much that they knew things about you that if you were really keeping track, they would never have been able to actually know if they hadn't been playing the other guy, because it was like information in 2 different groups that you were kind of sharing with people. But most people don't pay that close attention. And so you're constantly surprised at times when you'll find out that the same person is actually 2 different characters, and you're like, how much time do you have? Like the fact that you can have 2 characters that I group with on such a basis that I know quite well means that you're playing both of those characters equally as long as I'm playing my one character, which sounds like a lot, but depending on how often you play your character, may not actually be that long. Like me, this weekend I'm actually going to get to play a whole lot more than I have been able to for quite a while now. I told you guys that my brother was coming down from California, because he's in the Marine Corps, and they gave him some time off. Well, it turned out that the money he was going to use to travel down here, he had to use on his dog for some operation. And I'm not really an animal lover. I know a lot of people love their animals, so I'm not going to say anything negative against that at all, because to each their own. For me, not really big on animals. I am a vegan, so I guess I should be, but I'm more of a vegan because of health reasons than choice. I mean, I live in Texas. I mean, who doesn't want to eat freaking meat in Texas? We have some of the best steaks you'll ever have. But yeah, I have like heartburn. Heartburn, that's a massive problem. And one of my doctors was telling me, oh, there's a way you could try to not use all those pills that they keep giving you that really were not even working for them. Like some people, they can take the pills and they're fine. There's no problem whatsoever. And then other people, it just doesn't work on them. And I'm one of those few people that it just does not work, and it's really, really horrible feeling. And I was at that point with the pain that from all day long. Like I don't even have to eat anything for me to have heartburn. That's how bad it was. But I had gotten to that point where if the doctor had told me that I should wear mashed potatoes on my head and dance and cluck like a chicken, I probably would have tried it just to get rid of the pain, because it was just this unholy, unrelenting, burning sensation in my chest, and it was just horrible. But she told me that I should try cutting out my meat and my dairy, and I'm like, yeah, what does that have to do with anything, right? And I was completely and totally skeptical that this was going to do anything, but again, I was at that point where I would try anything and see if it worked. And after, 3 or 4 days of doing it, the pain and the sensation completely and totally went away. It was gone, and I've never had it come back, except once in a blue moon when I get, completely stressed out. I guess that, irritates it a little bit too as well. So if any of you are having like the same issue with heartburn or something, you might want to try that. It sucks. I miss my meat. I miss eating, and drinking milk and cheese. I love cheese. I could eat. I remember somebody telling me, and I don't know if it's true, that like France had like 135 official like sanctioned cheeses or something like that. And I was like, that's the place I should be living, just for the cheese alone. That's how much I love cheese. And I can really never have it. I guess I could if I wanted to, hurt myself that badly. I guess I could have it, but I can't even have it occasionally, so it sucks so bad. But yeah, I'm a vegan, but not a vegan by choice, really. So I'm not really one of those animal people. But yeah, so he wasn't able to come down, and basically what I had been doing is I had been working overtime so that I could get some time off while they were here. And so some of you guys may have noticed with my videos, I don't know if my commentary was nearly as good as it normally was or would have been, because I was kind of stressed out from working so much. I think maybe it translated over into my videos. You guys will have to tell me if you noticed anything at all or not, but definitely was not as relaxed as I normally am. I'm a very, very, very laid-back person, and for the most part, when I get home, I'm already pretty relaxed, because I don't let things get to me too often, because, life's too short. Why would you? Yeah, there's some things you need to take seriously, and, actually quite a few things in life that you have to take seriously, but no reason why you should get too worked up about it, for the most part. There's a few things, like the loss of somebody that is just, you can't help but get worked up on something like that. It's going to cause you stress, and it's one of the worst feelings that I've ever had to go through in my life when you lose somebody. But other things, smaller things, I just let that kind of, like rain off of a duck's back, just kind of flow right off, and it's better for you to do that. But yeah, last, I think about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been a little stressed out, and so like I said, I think that's kind of translated a little bit over into my videos. But today I'm really relaxed. I got the weekend off. I don't got a lot to do other than to catch up on my videos, which I've been sorely behind on, so I do apologize for that, because I do love playing these games with you guys and hearing the different stories that you share with me, and just playing it with you, just having you guys watch and follow along and relive some of the glory days of this game, and seeing it still alive. That's one of the biggest things, is actually seeing that the game is still going strong, and there's still people playing it, and there's still people enjoying it, and it's not the version that I don't really like too much. I hate to put it down, because there's tons and tons of people who still play Everquest Live, and they enjoy it. And if they're enjoying it, then so much better. I love the fact that the game is still enjoyable to somebody, and that it's not just, completely and totally dead, because that would just kind of be heartbreaking. Like, the Sony version of Everquest is what it is. Those are the people who designed it, and yeah, they fired people and got rid of people over the years. People have retired, and the crew that created this initial Everquest is not the same people who are creating the one that's out now, but it's still in some weird relation the one that really has the title of Everquest. I mean, they're the one who created this, and they're the ones who have morphed it into what it is nowadays. Not the game I like, not the game that I would play, but the fact that people are still playing it still, makes me happy in a certain way. But I like this one better. Like if I had to pick between the two, if I had to say which one I believe is the real EverQuest, I'd pick this one. But I know technically the other one's the real EverQuest, and this one's just an emulated server of what it once was and is no longer anymore. And there's a lot of reasons why I like this one over the other one, and I think the main reason is the community. The community is different here than it is on the other one. Granted, you still find a better community on EQ Live than you will on pretty much any other MMO out there, but it's not quite as tight-knit as it is here. And then the second reason is the difficulty. I like the difficulty. I know some people don't. Some people like their zones to be super easy, and they can go from level 1 to whatever the max is, and the time it takes me to sneeze or something like that. It's too easy for me. And somebody who's okay, so he just gave me a buttload of silver because I guess he couldn't hold it anymore. It was too much weight for him, and I didn't even see who did it. I should say thanks, but not really a blessing on my part. Yeah, I get some extra silver, but I also get a whole lot of weight to go with it, which is not something I really need to be concerned with because, for the most part, I'm not going to be moving around too often. But if I do, I could probably barely move right now. I do have a weapon I can get rid of, the Fine Steel Rapier, but that doesn't really weigh all too much. And like I said, I'm not really moving around right now. Probably will get rid of it the moment I actually have to start moving around, but I'm still looking for some bronze armor. So at some point, I may decide to go ahead and run back to the bank and buy some more food and drinks and just put some stuff away because I'm going to be so over encumbered. And I do want to get that bronze for my Shadow Knight. And that's another thing that I remember back in the day doing with my Shadow Knight, which is one reason why he was so poor for such a great deal of time, was that I would constantly get good stuff with him, over in Lower Guck and things of that sort, but I wouldn't sell it. I would give it to my alts, or at the time, I had two brothers playing. I had my oldest brother, and then another older brother playing, and my oldest brother was playing a druid, so any gear that I got as a cleric that he could use eventually, and then when I replaced it, I would give it to him. And then any gear that my Shadow Knight got that he couldn't use anymore, I would give it to my other brother who was playing a Paladin. And so pretty much nothing I ever got sold. It just got handed down to another character who could use it. And so I never really made any money from playing the game when I first started out. So, like I said, my Cleric was really one of my first characters to ever make a fortune, and it was a very, very short-lived fortune that allowed me to, buy things that I really, really, really needed for a long time, and, it helped me out. I wasn't one of these people that you'll see occasionally on the server that have, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of platinum on their character because they either play the trading game or they've gone out and hunted and harvested, really, really good drops and then sold the stuff for profit rather than giving to some of their alts and things of that sort. Because I've seen people who get an FBSS, that Flowing Black Silk Sash, and I mentioned that quite a bit because that used to be, it probably isn't anymore, and it definitely won't be when Canard comes out, or not Canard, but Veliz comes out. It used to be one of the highest, traded items on the server. Maybe not the highest priced, but if you got that within like an hour of getting it, and usually within like 10 seconds of getting it, you already had like 15 messages saying, hey, do you want to sell it? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to sell it? I'll pay this much. I'll pay this much. I'll match whatever everybody else is. I'll double it, and stuff like that. And you didn't really have to hold on to it for very long. A lot of the other items you would pick up in the zone. You'd be like, okay, now I gotta go back to Eastern Commons. I gotta sit there for, who knows how long, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, maybe a couple of days trying to sell this item. And you had to take that into account on how much it was worth to you. Like, yeah, it may be worth 2,000 platinum, But if I have to spend 2 days there trying to sell it, it's not worth anything to me because I'm not willing to do that. But how's mana looking, Dim? I am at 20%. Level 18 Shaman looking for group. But yeah, with an item like that was just so easily sold, and it was just easy money. Like the moment you got it, if you wanted to sell it, you could. But again, it was such a good item for any class to have at a low level, and even at higher levels, it was great for tanks to have, and classes that were trying to do a lot of damage, like rogues and things that needed that extra haste. But if you gave that to, like a caster at a low level, where everything is still melee, no matter who you are, even at, like level 1, level 2, level 3, even a wizard's still going to be using his melee weapon for the most part, and you give them haste, it's going to make a huge, huge difference, and they're going to be able to level up a lot quicker and have an easier time doing it. So a lot of the time, people would get those and give them to the lower level characters. But if you didn't have that, which some people didn't, some people just went with a high level character, and that was the only one they had, and everything they got extra just got sold, and they never really had. Just lost my wolf form, but they never really took the time to make another class because they just didn't want to. And so they were able to actually build up quite a bit of platinum. Or if they had a necro and they could go out hunting giants for a day. I know ZK has told me when he's gone over there with his shaman that he can make close to 1,000 platinum every hour. That's a lot of cash. That's pretty good. You're only going to find better if you go to high level zones and you get the really, really, really good items. And given the time wise, you may not do better off. You may be there for 3 days and never get that item. Or you may be there for 3 days and get 10 of those items. Each one of those things is worth, 15 or 20,000 platinum. And so therefore, yeah, you're going to come off way, way far ahead than somebody over there trying to do it the slow but steady route. And so you just kind of have to decide what's the best way for you to do it. What a lot of people will do is just go kill giants when it's time for them to level. And they can actually get experience off of it. And that way they can both level up, even if it is slower, but they can make a lot of money while they're at it, and therefore they can buy not only like the next level spells, but they can buy pretty much all their level spells for quite some time, and then of course they can buy some pretty good gear, and the better the gear you have, the better your performance is when you join a group. Like, you may not notice it anymore, but the other people will notice a difference between a tank that's not very outfitted versus a tank that is very outfitted, and the difference will be so noticeable. I'm stuck back here behind this guy. There we go. I'm going to try to come over here and loot this. Nope, nothing in it. Let me move back a little bit. I don't want to sit right in front of the guy just in case he's on first-person view. But I think we're going to go ahead and end the episode here, guys. Again, if you like these episodes, please hit that like button, subscribe. Definitely helps grow my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure to leave those comments down below. I love hearing back from you guys on the different things that you guys enjoy about this game, or things that you want to see me do in the game, zones that you want to see me go to. I am still rather low, so it's going to be a while before I can go to some of the higher level zones that some of you guys may actually want to see. But if you know of a good level 23 to 30 zone that you guys want me to go to, leave that down in the comments, and I definitely will give it a try. I am going to go to Miss Moore fairly soon. I will be going to High Keep sometime soon as well. Maybe not as my Cleric, maybe as my Shadow Knight, but I will be going through different zones with different characters. I may try to go there as my Cleric as well, just to give you that kind of perspective of a healer in that zone. But again, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.